as we were saying earlier, roughly 78, at the moment, I think it's 80%. Up to 80% are being refused.
So, I mean, 8 out of 10 asylum applicants in this country right now are being refused. And I understand you can't use the language I've used, but I would call that chance in their arm if 8 out of 10 are not eligible. I just want to frame this conversation very clearly. You know, there are so many people who come into our country and contribute immensely, whether it's in our hospitals, in our tech companies, right across our society, in our nursing homes. People make massive contributions. And they come into this country via a structured system, whether it's the work permit system or a visa system, and they contribute immensely. And this country will be lost without them. Many of them I know in my own constituency, and I'm friends with them. So I know the value of the work they do. But without doubt, over the last few years, the Irish people have lost their confidence in the state's ability to handle our asylum processing system, right? Why did the numbers of asylum seekers in Ireland rise from 3,000 approximately per year in 2021-22 to over 12 to 15,000 in the following years?
It was actually, thanks very much for what you said, Deputy, and I agree fully with you. It was actually much smaller in 2021 and 22 because of COVID. The average per year up to 2019, up to and including 2019, was roughly 3,500 over a prolonged period, and then it shrank because of COVID.
Yeah.
And
what was it in 23, 24, say roughly?
In 23 it was roughly 13,000, yeah. and then in 24 it rose to 18,500.
So why did we see such a sharp increase in people arriving to the country and claiming asylum specifically?
So there was a rise across Europe in 2022-23, and we've I suppose in years past we haven't got a kind of a proportionate share of that. Okay. In more recent years, we absolutely have got a proportionate share of that.
What was the point of entry for the majority of people who sought asylum in this country?
In the last few years, people present at the IPOs. So, as I was saying earlier, the assumption is that they're coming over the border.
So they're coming over the border. So they may be arriving into Belfast and coming down. Okay. So, do you believe we have an asylum crisis at the moment?
I mean, the proportion, to your earlier point, the proportion of asylum seekers to immigration is I can't remember the exact percentage.
I know it's a much smaller percentage, and I know we have a significant amount of work permits. But that five-fold increase from what the norm was to now over 13, 15, 18,000 per year, that is significant. Do you believe our asylum process, and I understand we have to give asylum seekers due process, and there are people coming from harrowing situations, but do you believe our process is being abused?
Abused is a pejorative kind of word. I mean, what we have an obligation to do is consider everybody's application.
And I accept that, but do you believe that there are people out there that are coming into this country, chancing their arm, seeking asylum?
What we're doing is processing the applications in the fairest.
But I want to know, do you believe people are chancing their arm?
I'm not going to.
Okay, I'll ask you a different question.
I'm not going to use that kind of language, Deputy, because I have a team that has to process applications fairly.
I understand that. Yeah. So what percentage of asylum applications currently are being refused?
So, as we were saying earlier, roughly 78, at the moment, I think it's 80%. Up to 80% are being refused.
So, I mean, 8 out of 10 asylum applicants in this country right now are being refused. And I understand you can't use the language I've used, but I would call that chance in their arm if 8 out of 10 are not eligible.
We do have a legal obligation, both in Irish law and in international law, to
there's the old international law again. See there, you can just drop that line, and that's meant to be their answer for everything, huh?
Consider all those applications.
100%.
And I can't take a view that prejudices that.
I understand.
What we're trying to do, and the processes that we put in place to accelerate some countries, takes account of a high refusal rate from some countries, and we have an accelerated process for countries.
I understand you have a job to do. You have to process them, yeah. But we do. What I'm trying to establish is that we do have a crisis, and then we end up having people who have come here, they get processed through asylum, they end up being told, 80% of them, you're not eligible, here's an order to deport. what percentage of people are complying with their deportation orders?
I mean, our view is that most of them are. I might ask Mr. O'Sullivan to come in if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, to come back, and we discussed this a little bit earlier, I mean, our preference would be to get people to leave voluntarily, and as I said, we've 1,600 people, are on our way towards 1,600 people leaving voluntarily this year. Where they don't, we make a deportation order. Our assessment is in most cases people move when they get that order, or in many cases they've moved before that because they know that their case is heading in that direction.
They're lying. They're lying. Those people are not going to move as long as they're giving them 600 quid a week for doing fuck all. They're lying through their teeth, these people. It's just, like I said to you, they have to do one lie to cover up that previous lie, and the lie is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And even though they're telling you 8 out of 10 get rejected, she won't use derogatory language, like saying that these people are chancing their arm by coming into this country. You know? Like, is acting like a snowflake part of their fucking resume? Do you know what I mean?